This is Home to All, an all-inclusive real estate podcast with your host, Nicholas Acosta. Nick sits down with guests to talk about real estate and how it works. Reach him at downtown.expert on Facebook and Instagram, his website, www.downtown.expert, or call or text him at 407-508-8809. Enjoy the episode.
Hello, everybody. This is Nicholas Acosta, your host of the podcast, Home to All, an all-inclusive real estate podcast. Joining me today again, Mike Synthetic, our paid sponsor of this segment with Blanchard Insurance. Welcome, everybody, to the show. Mike, how's it going over there?
Hey, good, man. How are you doing today?
Doing well. I see. I like the background you have, and I have my little holiday village behind me today.
Yeah, I got a little. I found this little graphic. I thought it summed up homeowners insurance and kind of what's going on in the Florida insurance market right now.
Yeah, so let's start with that. I know we're going to talk about a really awesome topic here in a minute about business integration, but start with what's going on with home insurance and what's going on out there in the market in general for it.
Yeah, I mean, just an update. And here's a clear example that we had this morning where we were working with one of our realtor partners, and he had a new buyer that was over in Tampa. And it was a home built in the late 70s over in Hillsborough County. And I mean, I think the sales price was about close to $500,000. Nice house. I mean, I think the sales price was about $460,000 or somewhere right around there. And we ran the insurance, and the best company that came back with the best price was about $3,000. And I mean, he was literally like in sticker shock. And he's like, I can't sell this, to my clients. They're never going to pay $3,000 in insurance. Can't we do better? And he couldn't believe that rates had gone that high. So I sat down with him and I explained to him there's two factors that factor into these rates. I was like, number one, probably like 2 or 3 years ago, you had a bunch of companies like Florida Insurance, Florida Specialty Insurance, who had blitzed into the market. And there was a couple other companies besides that, but they were one of the bigger ones who came in and just blitzed the market for 2 years where, the same house, they were like, yeah, it's $500 for insurance, which is obviously drastically under inadequate premium, so to speak. And those companies have blitzed the market for 2 years. Well, guess what? Most of them left the state and got paid, or they went into receivership and went bankrupt and whatnot. So that was a factor. So really at that point in time, those companies, it wasn't really that you should have really been paying at that point in time about $2,000 for your insurance, but these companies were undercutting it. So that was one factor. Then with the Florida insurance, the homeowners insurance crisis going on and rates going up based on that, it's kind of like, and I explained to him, it's kind of like it's a double whammy. So all the homeowners are getting hit hard and your buyers are getting hit hard twice for two things that are completely out of their control. And then, I told him, I was like, realistically, the expectation is you've seen, like we were discussing in pre-show, you've really seen, we're not even at the summit yet. I mean, it's probably going to be another 50% on top of that. And I mean, that's going to be what's realistically coming for the next 2 to 5 years. That's a pure example of what's just going on in the market right now.
No, that's crazy. But I have seen that. I actually worked with a seller that sold their house in Kissimmee. I wasn't working on the buyer side, but I remember my seller who was purchasing down in the Port Charlotte area that they were complaining that when they went to go see their insurance person down there or representative down there for insurance, they were complaining how much money it cost. And it was more expensive for them to live in Port Charlotte than it was to live in Kissimmee, where they were near Disney. But but one thing they are, just a disclaimer, they are closer to the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, they're not in a flood zone, but we're in the state of Florida. Flood zone could be anywhere in the state of Florida, no matter where you live.
Absolutely.
So, but I think it was a direct result, like you were talking about it here just a second ago, of the rates going up, and that they had sticker shock when they went to see their insurance agent about their policy. For sure.
Absolutely.
No, so let's see what else is going on. Like, I know we were going to talk about this. We were talking pre-show about, we talked about this a little bit last time, how, I have a broker license, I have a brokerage, And then I got my instructor's license, and I'm opening up a real estate school. I'm just waiting for the state to do the final approval. But let's use this as a caveat or a segue into talking about what you wanted to talk about was business integration in the world today. And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I know we kind of touched on this, last week about, businesses, diversifying, in this climate of COVID, and is there possibly another, big recession like 2008, looming on the horizon somewhere? We've been approached, over the years, and we've been asked this several times. Going back probably like 10 years with a lot of real estate brokerages, because I know they always are looking into diversification. It's not just real estate brokerages, it's title as well, and it's mortgage as well. Because, I mean, going back to 2008, when we were down the street, had some other offices and some other real estate. I remember 2008. I remember that there was a mortgage, company right across the hall that employed about 30 guys. And it was literally there one day and gone the next. And I remember going down the street to visit a friend who was a lender at another office that was right down the street. And I walked in the door and the office was gone. I mean, it was just had disappeared. And I think that, put a lot of panic in people's eyes. And I think it's now kind of like, how do we, get into diversifying ourselves and making sure that never happens again? And it was the same thing with title. Title companies were just closing left and right. So insurance, it has always been, especially in property and casualty, one of the more stable businesses. And like the recession of 2008, I think our revenues dipped by maybe 2% at most. During COVID, we actually grew instead of, our business did not decline. It actually grew. So it is very stable. It's, death, taxes, and insurance. I mean, so, your CPA, your insurance broker, and, the undertaker, the funeral home. I mean, it's a very steady revenue stream. And we're paid the same amount of money. I mean, to be honest, as title people in the title world, in the lending world, and in the real estate world. But it's over a period of time. We're paid out almost like it's annuity. So we're making the same money, but it's not on the initial transaction. It's paid over an annuity of the lifeline of the client, which can be 10 years. So it's very stable. And I have always explained to, whenever we take a meeting with a real estate brokerage that is interesting in opening an insurance arm, whether they're running it or they're going to bring in somebody to run it for them, the main thing I always explain to them is, you got to think of it this. I use the analogy of a totem pole. I'm like, in the initial insurance or the initial transaction of closing on a home, we're down at the bottom here when it comes to P&C. It's the last thing everybody thinks of and whatnot. So the realtors up here is in regards to importance, your lender second, title third. You're getting down here into, the AT guy, the appraiser, the home inspector, and whatnot, and the insurance guys at the bottom. But the true value of the insurance agent is, after that transaction goes through, the totem pole kind of flips and we become the top head on the totem pole, because we have, our average client life is 10 years. And we're constantly talking to these clients over that period of 10 years. And the value that when insurance agencies and brokerages are selling these days is not the premium or we take in or the commission we make off of the premium. It's really the data. And it's amazing because, I mean, you wouldn't believe the clients that the data that we're able to collect on them. I mean, we're privy to every life change they have, when they're having kids and buying life insurance, when their kids are, moving out of the house and getting married on their own and buying a new home. So what I do is I explain to them, I'm like, the data is the most important thing to consider when buying into an insurance agency or opening an insurance arm or your brokerage. And if you can't see that long-term vision, I say don't do it, because you're going to lose your shirt. So it's really the value of having communication with these clients for the next 10 years and having an opportunity to call them up. And you're really not going to have to, because they're going to be calling you all the time, requesting changes to their insurance. And again, like I said, you're going to know when Uncle Bob's moving into the state of Florida and is looking for a house, when the kids are moving out and getting married and buying a house. You have all that data, and that's really the value.
I agree completely. That's the same thing with us and real estate, as you already know. that we're collecting data as well, and that's where we get our leads. And when you get when you get, like, say for instance, this example, a Zillow lead or an organic lead, for example, when you get that lead, you're in real estate. Initially, you're not going to always get a response right away. I mean, you probably 1 in 10 or 3 in 10, 3 out of 10 will respond to you quickly, but the rest, you're basically nurturing that data and those leads into your database. You're setting them up on a search thing, like an automated search where it sends them properties. The ones that they pique their interest, they open the email, they open the text message link, they see it, they like it, and you're basically in the same thing with insurance too. You're educating the consumer, and that's what we do in real estate too with our leads. Is you're educating the data that you're receiving, the actual people behind the data. You're educating them about the process, about what houses cost, and I think talking about the insurance thing here and about the integration, that it's important to link. We in our database, like for instance, I use KB database. I can add a lender. I can add a preferred lender to the thing. But the thing that's missing, and I'll run this by to see if this is possible, and also with my representative over there at KB Core, why can't we add an insurance person in there to start the process to get them an idea? Because like I reached out to you guys many times, and you guys get back to me right away, like you and then Jamie and Allie over there, and they basically, like, I've had buyers that looked at a certain house, a certain age of a house, a certain age of a roof, where you guys have gotten me, like, I always reach out to get quotes for those buyers in advance so they know what they're dealing with the snapshot. I know it's an estimate, obviously, but it's important to give people a heads up because, like I said, the one seller I was working with, when they relocated to Southwest Florida, they got sticker shock when they went to go see their insurance agent because it was way higher than what they were paying here in Kissimmee.
Yeah.
I don't like to, and I'm sure you're the same way. I don't like to blindside consumers, and that's why it's important about integration. What do you think about that, or your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. Most of the realtor and the brokerage partners, agents, the brokerages that we work with, it's a service that we provide. And even in our own business, I mean, I think it's an arm and a service that they should include, whether it's, part of their business model or just using an agent or a broker, if it's not us, as an asset. And I know and even in my own business, it's if I can refer out, if one of our clients unfortunately is getting a divorce, if I can refer to a divorce attorney, if they're doing estate planning, I can refer them to somebody, or if I can, refer them to a CPA to get their taxes done, or even a doctor, or whatever. Our goal is to be like a one-stop shop. I know, and it's not necessarily, I'm not going to go down and open up a law practice or a medical practice anytime soon, but it's important for businesses to think of themselves as the operator, to think of themselves as the yellow pages, to think of themselves as Google search. The more client communication you can have and you can help those clients, they're going to, in any business, it's going to make lifetime clients out of them instead of just being a transaction. Because I think especially in the real estate business, they look, unfortunately, it is sometimes a one-time transaction. And sometimes, maybe they do have cousin Bob is moving into the state of Florida, or, Aunt Hilda or whatever, and is looking to buy a house. Well, you're just kind of taking the luck of the draw of whether they're going to reach out and contact you and use you as the same realtor. Hopefully that happens, but wouldn't it be nice to know well in advance if that's going to even happen? Well, in the insurance business, that's stuff that we're privy to. I mean, we usually hear about it, before they do, and we get questions like that all the time, like, what lender, what title company, to use. So it is something, and education is key, and I think we're talking about that a little bit in pre-show too. As you're ramping up to, get your license to be able to actually teach, that's something we're really looking into, and we've been offered. I know they do a lot of classes around town, before pre-COVID, at some of our competitors where they bring everybody in and they do these, continuing education classes, whether it's real estate or insurance, about, water. And I hate to say it, but it was like the classes were like water remediation, wind mit credits, and all crap that is, or to be honest, Nick, any realtor shouldn't have to go that deep into the weeds to learn all this. That's my job. If I'm leave that crap to us, so to speak. So what we're trying to do is do more classes and educational things that are of a value to our real estate partners and lending and title, which is this is what's going on in the insurance world, and this is what's regards to rate. This is where the rates over here in Tampa are going to be different from Daytona, and this is the reason why. So when you do have your clients ask you questions like this, at least you have some ammunition to kind of shield from some of the fodder that they're going to be, the objections that they're going to be throwing back, and to give them realistic expectations. So it's really something that we're going to strive for. We have been and going to continue into 2021 is providing education and webinars to our partners and Zoom meetings, that it's something that's of value to you instead of just generic insurance jargon, because I wouldn't want to sit through that personally myself.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I've done it enough with the insurance company I worked for 20 years. When we went to meetings, I was falling asleep. Even though I was listening and I did learn and I did retain. But to the regular real estate agent out there that's not familiar with insurance or working in insurance like we do, or I have, you are currently, but you know what I mean? Like in general, to most people that have never gone through the insurance experience like we have, they would be bored out of their mind. Like, what does this matter? I mean, don't we hire an inspector to figure out the report to give to the insurance people about mitigation, wind mit, stuff like that? Or the age of the roof and what type of roof is it? I mean, I'm talking about like the specific types of roof. They consider. There's no way that a real estate agent is going to remember all that stuff. Exactly. I mean, like, and then you're going to try to explain it to your buyer, and you're like, no. I always just say, I got this great company here, Blanchard Insurance. Let me have you talk to Jamie or Mike. They can answer your questions about this. First of all, you guys are licensed in it, and second of all, I have no idea what I'm talking about. So.
Exactly. Just like me, me in real estate. I mean, I couldn't tell you, I couldn't read a real estate contract if you told me to. So I leave that to you guys, and that's, but again, it's circling back. If, a lot of places want to act as a one-stop shop, you need to have the right partners getting you the right information too.
No, I completely agree. That's why I've got a one go-to inspector that I reach out to if they have questions about, for example, let's just talk about this real quick. We'll spend a second on this because it falls into the same category we're talking about, like having your resources out there, like one, insurance with you guys as a resource for the consumer or the buyer. Two, home inspectors. And, that's another thing besides insurance that buyers are blindsided by is the cost of home insurance, or no, I'm sorry, a home inspection from a certified inspector. It obviously depends on what type of property it is. It depends on the square footage of the property. How easy is it for the inspector to get in the attic or on the roof, depending on what type of roof it is, and what kind of equipment do they need in order to inspect the house. But that's another thing. I have a resource. I have you guys, Blanchard Insurance, as a resource for buyers. When they ask me, what I do is I do never wait for like the quotes that I got from you guys recently, that particular buyer. But any buyer, I never wait for the buyer to ask me, hey, Nick, do you know anybody that could give me a quote on this? Before they even consider putting an offer in, I reach out to you guys with the property details, and I present it to the buyer and say, look, so I just want to let you know I checked in with this insurance company. This is just an estimate, as always, that I have to say on every case, that this is just an estimate. But this is where you're looking at in terms of like, the buyer kept wanting to look at wood frame constructed homes versus block homes. Obviously, there's a difference. I don't know exactly the difference, but that's what you guys are here for. But there's a difference in price and also the age of the roof. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And it's interesting you say that because, and I was going to touch on this a little bit earlier, but a lot of, whether you're a real estate brokerage or a lending house here, or, even a title company, if I can say anything to you, is that we get approached, and we have been approached over the last couple of years, as I'm sure a lot of other insurance agencies and brokerages have been, that if you're not doing it, guess what? Some of the largest abstract title companies in the United States, some of the largest real estate brokerages, some of the largest lending houses are looking into the property and casualty arm. And whether it's hiring somebody like us to come in and actually what they call an incubator program, where we come in and build them out and run it, or we build it out for them and we leave, or they partner with somebody. A lot of those big organizations, and I'm talking about organizations out of Palo Alto, California. I mean, some of them are doing 2,000 transactions per day nationally. A lot of them are really looking into the insurance arm. And as you know, and that's just on the homeowner side. They don't care about the auto and everything else. But when you're seeing even on the auto side, I mean, like look at Amazon looking into the auto insurance market. That's really interesting. But again, and I always look at that too. And even my own company, it's like, as far as just insurance, I mean, I'm not looking to get in the real estate business at all, but we do look at other facilities management and other things like that, or things that we've considered looking into, because it's almost kind of like you got to look at yourself in business that you got to look at the larger picture and what the bigger outfits are doing, and kind of set yourself up, to that it should be your ultimate goal down the road. Because if you're not, I mean, again, there's going to be a huge aggregation where they're, going to try to swallow you up. And that's what goes on in P&C every day. I mean, like over the past, like 5 or 7 years, we've been offered every offer to buy us out, on the table. And I see that coming down the pipe at some point, probably, at least, especially in the title world. I don't know about the mortgage world, and I know real estate will kind of be last, that there'll be an aggregation period, but we're going through it in the P&C market right now.
Oh, no. It probably is happening with other real estate brokers. Obviously, it is. Even me being a newbie, and 4 months, 5 months now total. Since the day I've been off the ground running, I'm constantly reevaluating, because it's in my blood now, in my brain, from where I worked for 20 years, which is a good thing. I've been coming up with new ideas, like, for instance, for example, a big thing about brokerages is like, if you're by yourself as a buyer's agent or a selling agent and you're not on a team, you obviously get charged a transaction fee as an individual. Yeah. But the biggest thing I've seen out there is, and this is where one of the reasons I started my brokerage, was other companies out there. And I'm talking about the large companies out there, the big brokerages, the household names. They charge a fee for each team member, when they go to make more money off of that. But what I've done to kind of adapt to the change with COVID and, an uncertain economic future, because, we still haven't, the new year hasn't started yet. We don't know what 2021 has in store for us yet. We didn't know this was going to be what happened for 2020, but we got blindsided in March or April. So my thought is that I've integrated a system where if you do join my brokerage as a team, I'm not going to charge you into each individual on the team, split that cost or whatever, split those costs amongst each other again. And then I'm trying to, just like you were doing with insurance, I'm trying to shake up the market and show people that, hey, look, I'm not doing this as to steal your business. I'm doing this because this is what consumers and this is what employees, yes, they may be independent contractors, but ultimately they're my employees, but in a different way for the IRS. They're still considered an employee, even though they're not technically an employee. That my thing is to shake up the industry, because there's going to be changes in the future that, you have to adapt to this. If not, you're going to lose people. People are going to be like, I'm done paying for a team fee or whatever it is, or I'm done paying this with my insurance, or, things like that. So that's why it's good that we get along in these businesses, that the integration is key, because consumers and employees out there are changing. Their mindset have changed significantly. And I think we haven't even seen the full effects of that yet. And we may not even see that till like mid next year before people start realizing that what we're talking about right now has come to fruition,
Yeah, and to touch on that, I completely agree. I mean, I got kind of yelled at by a friend the other day because for my humbleness, I guess to a degree. And we were talking about, what we, pay our agents. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe, why would you pay so much? Why are you pocketing money, more for yourself? And I was like, well, look, I use this analogy all the time, so I apologize to the listeners out there if it sounds redundant, but my goal at the end of the day is I don't want 100% of the pie I have now. I don't want, 100% of my grandmother's pie. I want a huge pie the size of Amazon, and I want a sliver of that, and I'm happy. And guess what? Everybody else in my company, I want them to have a sliver that we can all live comfortably and, go home at the end of the day. And it's a team effort. It's not, and I think, especially in my industry, there's a ton of greed, but I look at, is that greed is probably going to put you in an early grave, or at least your business in an early grave, because you're going to become a dinosaur with that. Right. And I watched this webinar recently, and it was a very intelligent guy very well respected in our industry, and he was talking about the future, 5 down in financial services, including real estate. What does AI look like down the road? What is all this optimization? What does offshoring look like? What all the new technology that's coming down, real tech and insurtech and everything else that's coming down the pipe. And the one thing he kind of touched on was, we all have to become better experts at what we do, because it's not going to be about filling out a real estate contract anymore. It's going to be we're going back into an advisory role. Machine learning and everything else, AI is going to do everything that we're required to do with our hands. And basically, you need to learn how to be more creative. You need to solve problems, because that's the one thing AI can solve problems based on logic, but there's no real creativity behind AI yet. And they were talking about, that could be decades or even another century before it learns how to do that, to think outside the box and find solutions where there are no solutions. So that's what I'm telling everybody is, like, you better be preparing for that, because it's coming, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's what we're here at Blanchard, we're trying to build is more value behind that, and yes, it's a slower road. I mean, you're not going to see, Blanchard with this, I'm not going to have a 10 million square foot building in the next year, but it's a slower grow, but I want to be around and relevant for the next 30 years.
No, I completely agree. Yeah, that's definitely, I agree with you on that 100%. That's where I'm at with my business, like you are with Blanchard, is that I want people to live comfortably. I'm not. Absolutely. Yeah, real estate, just like insurance, as we were talking on Tuesday about, the whole thing about the healthcare marketplace, or whatever you want to call it, how there's a lot of opportunists out there that are trying to make these large commissions up front, but your policy is what was called the junk policy, like NPR.org had mentioned. Same thing goes with this business. I'm going to charge ridiculous fees and ridiculous people up front. So then what's going to happen is, one, we're going to no loyalty from the employer or contractor. And number two, what are you going to do? So you're going to collect all this money as a CEO, myself or yourself, and then you're going to have nobody here to work with you or be loyal to you or be a team effort to build a company. That's why, I haven't made this official yet. I'm working on it right now. The possibility of stock options within my brokerage, because I want, like you said, I want to have my real estate associate, sales associate, and broker associates to have a piece of the pie as well. Absolutely. So they can live comfortably.
Absolutely. And I would tell any business to do that. And I know some of them in our industry have gone to that and done that. And I mean, as long as you're doing it ethically, yeah, absolutely 100%. Get people bought into your company and your vision and in your dream. And I love to say that the people who, thank the people who've stuck by me over the years. I mean, I know I can seem demanding or eccentric or anything else, at the end of the day sometimes, but I'm very thankful for that. But I think it's a people business, and it's just not like in the, saying that our clients are people, but it's also saying the people who work inside your company are people. They're not employees. They are your people. And they, and it's like a family, like anything else. And, to touch on the fees real quick. I mean, I actually had somebody the other day who, a client referred to me, and I was talking to her, and she's like, well, what's your fee? And I'm like, I don't have a fee. I mean, like I get paid by, a commission by, between the insurance companies. She's like, you mean you don't charge for this phone call, a consulting fee? And I'm like, no. And she's like, and I'm like, yeah, I know. I've heard that out there that people do that. They, it's like, and I'm like, I'm not a law office. I'm not a doctor.
Right.
There's no copay for this, phone call or whatever. And it does show you that, yes, there's a lot of that does go in the industry. And, I'm happy with, what we get paid, and I'm happy to, help out clients.
No, that's awesome. So we're going to be back again on Tuesday of next week. So, Mike, is there anything you want to leave us with today before the weekend?
Yeah, I know I kind of talked about, or we talked about earlier today, if there is any real estate brokerages out there, any title companies or any, lending houses who are interested in getting into opening either up a piece, a property and casualty arm of their own, whether they're running it or not. We're the experts at it. We've been doing this for years. I do consultations on it all the time. So please reach out to Blanchard Insurance, ask for me directly, and I can kind of walk you through whether you do it with us or whether you do it with somebody else, or whether you're just, gathering info and contemplating it, doing it 5 years down the road. Advice is always free. I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to this stuff, so I can answer any questions you have and kind of walk you through, what the world of P&C, especially homeowners insurance, looks like, and especially here in Florida. So please feel free to reach out at any time.
That's awesome. Yeah, Mike's a great resource over there at Blanchard Insurance, as well as Jamie and Allie. And same here with me. Anybody who ever wants to talk to me about real estate, I'm a nerd or geek about that and I, like Mike said, we'll give free advice to you. We're not going to charge you by the minute or by the hour to talk about real estate or insurance. So it's all good. All right, Mike. Well, I'll see you guys back here on Tuesday of next week.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. This has been Home to All, an all-inclusive real estate podcast. I'm your host, Nicholas Acosta, a licensed real estate broker with Downtown Expert Realty, LLC, here in Orlando, Florida, Central Florida, to be exact. Coming to you live from the 8th floor of the View at Lake Eola. Hey, well, when we are able to get the all clear down the road, we're going to have to set up something like, I don't know, for members of the Citrus Club, maybe we'll set up in one of the conference rooms.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like a side-by-side table, and we can have you, myself, Jamie, and Allie, and we can have like a discussion panel on the podcast or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be awesome. So, all right, guys. Well, this has been Home to All. Have a great rest of the week, great weekend. And Mike, I will see you back on Tuesday.
Sounds good. Enjoy your weekend, everybody.
All right, you too, guys. Take care.
This has been Home to All, an all-inclusive real estate podcast. Find Nick on Facebook and Instagram at downtown.expert, and also his website, www.downtown.expert, or call or text him at 407-508-8809. Thanks for listening.
Instead of spending hours or even days looking for your new home, let a Downtown Central Florida expert guide you. Hi, I'm Nicholas Acosta, and I'm here to welcome you home. Being a Florida native, I know how exciting, convenient, and stylish the downtown Florida lifestyle is. Whether you're entertaining your guests or enjoying the views, Central Florida downtown has a lot to offer you and your family. Buying, selling, or investing, I'm your Downtown Central Florida expert.